And it's more than a game, it's big business. So just how big is the computer gaming industry in China? Well, in the first 6 months of this year, revenue from sales of computer games in China topped $23 billion. That's a year-on-year increase of over 14%. The number of gamers in China has reached an all-time high, nearly 679 million people. And there's increasing demand for homegrown games in China. Revenue from domestically made titles reached over $44 billion. That's up almost a fifth on the same period in 2024. But sales of Chinese-made games are booming around the world as well. Revenue's up 11% year-on-year to over $9.5 billion. So who is buying these Chinese-made games? Well, the figures show the United States is still the biggest overseas market. That's followed then by Japan and then South Korea. And Europe accounts for 8% of all the sales, a figure, by the way, that's growing fast. Let's talk now to Joost van Dreunen from the Stern School of Business at New York University, also the author of One Up Creativity Competition and the Global Business of Video Games. There we are. That's the plug for the book. Joost, good to see you. Look into the future for us, if you would. Where is this business going? Is it going to be about big budget titles? Is it going to be about indie innovation or new technology, or a bit of a combination of all three?
Well, the correct answer is all three, of course. It's the winners will be the companies that can figure out how to use all of those ingredients equally. What the Chinese games market, particularly the supply side, has proven itself to be capable of is coming up with intellectual property that is globally appealing. And that's something we haven't seen before, so that's very exciting. Black Myth Wukong, of course, is the standout title, but it's been companies like Tencent and NetEase that have been dominating the global marketplace for years, and they've figuring out now during a period of relatively flat global revenues that they have to innovate and come up with something really powerful and convincing to grow the next 10 years.
You mentioned those Chinese labels, Black Myth, Wukong. We heard about Where Winds Meet and the rest of it. Where do these projects, what do these projects suggest about China's game development scene?
That's an excellent question. So for the longest time, China was the place where Western publishers would send development work and outsource a lot of their, sort of back-end production. I think over the years, the Chinese market has proven itself both as a consumer market, becoming this massive $700 million person audience, as well as on the supply side, where now we have this capability. And so it's grown into its own strength, and it tells you that the Chinese game development market is ready to compete on a global level and no longer just provide for everybody else, but to come up and export its own cultural IP.
Games are about more than business, though, aren't they? I mean, they're also cultural exports, I guess. I mean, how are these Chinese titles perhaps shaping global perceptions of China internationally?
The reception for Black Myth Wukong, I think, is a really interesting case in point in that regard. In the same way that the Japanese games industry built on and expanded on its animation, its manga, and its anime, and it became that sort of vignette, this cultural export of these big-eyed characters like that you would recognize from Pokemon, for instance, or even from Mario. If you go over to Korea, where you see like a Nexon. And they, of course, have now their exports with like a PUBG, and they have, K-pop as sort of like their cultural export product. I think China is ready to take its position in that as well, and to say, here is the thing that is distinctly Chinese, that is loved and appreciated and played by everybody globally.
What should investors look out for over the next few years? I mean, do you see Chinese studios perhaps becoming global household names alongside firms that we already know like Nintendo, Sony or Activision Blizzard?
Absolutely. That's a very good observation. So what has always been the case is that North America, particularly the US and of course Japan, they were leading the charge. They were the best known publishers. They've consolidated to some degree, and that market continues to do well. But what really seems to be driving innovation is Korea over the last 10 years, and in my mind, China for the years to come. Companies like Tencent, of course, they're generally these large conglomerates, but they have subsidiaries like Riot Games, like Supercell, TV Studios, and they've expanded their reach and their network of development and talent worldwide, so to become their own intellectual property and their own household names.
Joost, good to see you. Thanks for that. Joost van Dreunen from the Stern School of Business at New York University.